Lena stood alone on the observation deck of the Aurora's Whisper, a small human colony ship that had been drifting near the edge of known space for weeks, its engines long silent, its crew long gone. Only she remained, and her dragon Kale curled, up near the control panel, his scales catching the dim light like scattered stars. Outside the thick glass, the void stretched endlessly, dotted with distant suns and the cold glow of alien constellations, none of which belonged to Earth. Earth was gone, not destroyed but forgotten, lost behind centuries of war and silence. Most of the galaxy believed humans were extinct, just another failed species swallowed by time. But Lena was still here, quiet, watchful, and carrying something no one else in the universe knew about. She wore simple clothes, faded gray pants, and a soft green tunic, her dark hair tied back in a loose braid, her eyes calm but sharp like someone who had seen too much and said too little. She had once been a botanist on the last Earth colony before the evacuation order came. She had also been the keeper of stories, the kind her grandmother used to tell by firelight. Tales of tall, graceful beings with pointed ears who walked among ancient trees and spoke to the wind. Those were called elves. And though most dismissed them as myth, Lena knew better because her grandmother had shown her the proof hidden deep in the family vault. A small wooden box lined with moonstone, and inside it, a single acorn, smooth, cool, and impossibly old. That acorn now rested in her pocket as she stared into the black. The Aurora's Whisper had not been drifting by accident. She had steered it here to the outer rim of the Cathari Dominion, the most feared empire in the sector. The Cathari were tall, obsidian-skinned beings with 6 fingers, bioluminescent veins, and a reputation for crushing any species that refused to bow their Queen Vela. The Unbending had conquered over 30 worlds in less than a decade, and now, her war fleet patrolled this region, hunting for the last whispers of resistance. Lena had sent a signal, not a distress call, but an invitation. "I come in peace," she had written in 3 languages, including the old tongue of the Cathari elders. A language no human should have known. Within hours, 3 massive warships surrounded the Aurora, their hulls shaped like jagged claws, their weapons humming with power, but they did not fire, they waited. A boarding tube hissed against the ship's airlock, and, moments later, armored Cathari soldiers stepped inside, their eyes glowing red, their movements precise and silent. They found Lena standing calmly in the main chamber, Kyle at her side, his wings half spread, his golden eyes fixed on the intruders. With quiet warning, one of the soldiers raised a hand, not to attack but to gesture. She was to follow. Lena did not resist. She tucked the wooden box safely into her satchel and walked with them across the void bridge that connected the 2 ships. Kyle followed close behind, his claws clicking softly against the metal floor. The Cathari flagship was unlike anything she had ever seen. Walls of polished black stone pulsed with soft blue light, corridors twisted like living roots, and the air smelled of ozone and something sweet like crushed petals. Beneath it all was a deep hum, as if the ship itself were breathing. They led her to the heart of the vessel, the throne chamber. There at the far end, seated on a dais of woven crystal, sat Queen Velash. Was taller than the others, her skin like volcanic glass, her eyes deep violet and unreadable. 6 slender fingers rested on the arms of her throne, and along her neck faint lines of light pulsed slowly like a slow heartbeat. She wore no crown, only a circlet of silver leaves that seemed to shift with her breath. The room fell silent, even the hum of the ship seemed to pause. Lena stopped 10 paces from the throne. She did not bow. She did not speak. She simply reached into her satchel and pulled out the wooden box. The Cathari guards tensed their hands, hovering near their weapons, but Vela raised one finger and they stilled. Lena opened the box slowly. The moonstone lining caught the light and shimmered like captured moonlight. Inside lay the acorn. She stepped forward, placed the box gently on the floor, and pushed it toward the Queen with her foot. Then she stepped back and waited. Vela stared at the box for a long moment. Then, with slow, deliberate movement, she rose from her throne. The entire court held its breath as she descended the steps barefoot, her long robes trailing behind her. She knelt before the box and lifted the acorn into her palm. The moment her skin touched it, she froze. Not in fear, not in anger, but in shock. Her bioluminescent veins flickered, then dimmed completely. Her eyes widened, and for the first time in decades, Queen Vela The unbending stood utterly still, as if time itself had paused around her. No one in the galaxy had ever given her a gift, not a tribute. Not a bribe, not a weapon disguised as peace. Just a gift, and it was small, quiet, and alive. The acorn felt warm in her hand, warmer than stone, warmer than metal. It pulsed faintly like a sleeping heart. And deep in Vela's mind, something stirred. A memory she did not recognize, a scent of rain on green leaves, a sound like wind through high branches. A feeling of safety. She had not known since she was a child, before the wars, before the throne, before the weight of empire. Her breath caught Lena, watched silently. Kyle pressed against her leg, his tail curling around her ankle for comfort. The court whispered among themselves, "What is it, poison, a seed of rebellion?" A trick. But Vela did not move. She only stared at the acorn as if seeing her own reflection in its smooth surface. Minutes passed, then 10, then 20. Finally she looked up at Lena, her voice barely above a whisper. "What is this?" Lena met her gaze without fear. "It is a memory," she said simply. "A memory. Your people forgot and mine." Almost lost, Vela closed her fingers gently around the acorn, then rose to her full height. "You will stay," she said. Not as a command, but as a request. Lena nodded. And so the last human and her dragon became guests, not prisoners aboard the flagship of the galaxy's most feared queen. As they were led away to their quarters, KL looked up at Lena and let out a soft rumble, almost like a purr. She smiled and scratched behind his horns. "We did it," she whispered. But she knew this was only the beginning. The gift had been given, now the real work would start, because sometimes the most powerful weapon is not a bomb or a blade, but a single seed carried across the stars by someone who still believed in kindness. And somewhere deep in the Queen's chamber, the acorn began to glow faintly, as if it too knew the war was not over, but a new kind of battle had just begun. One fought not with fire, but with roots, with memory. With hope, Lena glanced back once at the throne room door, now closed behind them. She did not know if she had just saved humanity or doomed it. But she knew one thing: she had made the Queen feel something, and in a universe ruled by fear, that was more dangerous than any army. The royal flagship hovered above the ruins of what humans once called New York City. Its massive shadow turned day into night for those below. Lily joined the line of servants being processed for security clearance. She kept her eyes downcast as instructed in the protocol she had studied. Her disguise was simple but effective. A plain gray uniform marking her as low-ranking human staff, special contacts to hide the glow of her eyes, and a head wrap that concealed her pointed ears. Soraxian guards towered over the human servants. Their scaled bodies gleamed under the harsh lights as they checked identification chips and scanned for weapons. Lily held her breath as she approached the false identification chip implanted in her wrist. Had cost her almost everything she had, but the forgery was excellent. The guard barely looked at her as he scanned her chip. The device beeped with approval, and he waved her forward. Ember shifted slightly in his hidden pouch, but the sedative kept him calm enough to avoid detection. Lily moved through the checkpoint, her heart racing but her face showing nothing. Inside the flagship, everything was designed to inspire awe and fear. Ceilings soared to impossible heights. Walls gleamed with metals, unknown to human science. Subtle lighting made the scales of passing Zoraxian nobles shimmer like living rainbows. Human servants moved efficiently through the spaces, keeping their eyes down, never speaking unless spoken to. Lily followed them, mimicking their movements. As she entered the main preparation area, a human woman approached her. She appeared to be in her 40s, with the worn look of someone born into servitude. "You must be new," she said. "I'm Courtney. I've been assigned to show you your duties." Her voice was flat, emotionless. Like most humans who had grown up under Zoraxian rule, she had learned to suppress any sign of personality that might draw attention. Lily nodded, grateful for the unexpected help. "Yes, first time on the flagship," she replied, keeping her voice similarly subdued. Courtney led her through a maze of corridors, explaining the rules in a quiet monotone. Never look directly at any noble, especially not the Queen. Never speak unless spoken to. Never touch a Zoraxian even. If they seem to be struggling or in need of assistance, move quickly but never run. Stay close to the walls when nobles pass. The celebration was to be held in the Grand Hall, an enormous chamber that could accommodate thousands. Preparations were already underway. Human servants arranged exotic flowers from a dozen conquered worlds, while others polished floors and set up elaborate display stations for the tribute ceremony. Courtney pointed to a small stage near the front of the hall. That's where the tribute presentations will happen. She explained select servants will present gifts to the Queen. Each gift has already been approved and catalogued. Any deviation will result in immediate execution. Lily felt a chill at the casual way Courtney mentioned execution. How do they choose who presents the gifts, she asked, trying to sound merely curious. Courtney shrugged. The supervisors pick whoever they think looks most presentable. Usually it's the younger ones who haven't been working too long. The Queen prefers to see humans who still have some spirit left. It amuses her. This was both better and worse than Lily had hoped. Better because younger, less experienced servants might be easier to replace in the lineup. Worse because the selection was apparently made based on appearance rather than position or duty. They spent the next few hours preparing the hall. Lily worked diligently, using the opportunity to map escape routes and observe security patterns. The Zoraxian guards were numerous, but predictable in their movements. Their confidence in their own superiority made them somewhat careless around human servants, who they viewed as no threat whatsoever. As the time for the celebration approached, Courtney showed Lily to the servants' preparation room where they would wait until needed. Each was assigned specific duties for the evening. Lily was to be part of the cleaning crew, moving unobtrusively through the celebration to collect discarded items and wipe up spills. Perfect for her purposes, as it would allow her to move freely. The servants were lined up for final inspection. A Zoraxian supervisor moved down the line, checking uniforms and appearance. When he reached Lily, he paused, studying her face with unexpected intensity. "This one," he said to an aide. "She will join the tribute presenters." Lily froze, fighting to keep her expression neutral. The aide looked surprised. "All the presenters have been selected already, sir." The supervisor waved away the objection. "She has an unusual face, more interesting than the others. The Queen enjoys novelty. Make the change." The aide bowed and motioned for Lily to follow. Her mind raced. This was simultaneously the worst and best thing that could have happened. She would be able to approach the Queen directly as planned, but would be under much closer scrutiny. She followed the aide to a different preparation area where 7 other human servants waited. They all looked young and relatively healthy compared to most of the servants Lily had seen. "Each of you will present one tribute item to the Queen." The aide explained, "You will approach when called, bow to the appropriate depth of 45 degrees, present your item. Step back, bow again, and return to your position. Any deviation will result in immediate termination." The aide went down the line, showing each presenter the item they would be offering. Elaborate jewels from conquered worlds, rare metals, technology pieces, all carefully selected to demonstrate the wealth and reach of the Zoraxian Empire. When he reached Lily, he handed her a small potted plant with unusual purple flowers. "This is a night bloom from the Centauri system," he explained. "The only plant known to grow on worlds orbiting neutron stars. It will die within hours of the ceremony, so handle it carefully." Lily nodded, accepting the plant. Perfect. Now she just needed to make the switch as they waited for the ceremony to begin. Lily carefully positioned herself near the back of the group. The other presenters kept to themselves, each lost in their own thoughts, likely focusing on not making any mistakes that would cost them their lives. Lily used their distraction to her advantage. With subtle movements, she extracted the small box containing the heart of the forest from its hiding place in her uniform. Keeping her body angled away from the others, she carefully removed the night bloom from its decorative pot and placed it on the floor near the wall, where it would not be immediately noticed. Then placed the heart in the pot, concealing it with a thin layer of soil from the original plant. The heart remained dormant, just as it had since she had taken it from her father's study. It looked like nothing more than a cloudy crystal sphere, ordinary and unremarkable, exactly what she needed it to appear. as a loud fanfare echoed through the ship, signaling the arrival of the noble guests. The human presenters were led to a small antechamber adjacent to the main hall. From there they could hear the sounds of the gathering. The clicking speech of Zoraxians mingled with music from string instruments played by human musicians. Time passed slowly. Lily focused on controlling her breathing. Ember shifted occasionally in his pouch, but remained mercifully quiet. The sedative was wearing off, but the dragon seemed to understand the need for silence. His warm presence against her side provided comfort, as tension built in the room. Finally, an aide appeared. "It's time. Follow me in single file. Remember your training." The presenters were led into the grand hall. The space was filled with Zoraxians of various ranks, their scaled bodies adorned with medals and jewels that denoted their status. Human servants moved silently among them, carrying trays of food and drink. At the far end of the hall, on an elevated platform, sat a large ornate chair currently empty. The queen's throne, Lily noted, Zoraxian guards standing at regular intervals, their weapons prominently displayed. Escape would be nearly impossible once she made her move, but that had never been part of her plan anyway. The presenters were positioned to one side of the throne, each holding their tribute item. Lily stood at the end of the line, her hands steady around the potted heart of the forest. Despite the risk, despite the fear, she felt strangely calm. This moment had been inevitable since the fall of Earth, perhaps even before. Another fanfare, louder than before, signaled the imminent arrival of the queen. The assembled Zoraxians turned toward the main entrance and dropped to one knee. The human servants, including the presenters, bowed deeply as instructed. The queen's entourage entered, first 12 guards in gleaming armor, followed by various officials and attendants. Then came the queen herself. Lily kept her head bowed but risked a glance upward. What she saw made her breath catch. The Zoraxian queen looked nothing like her subjects. While they were clearly reptilian with scaled skin and inhuman features, the queen appeared almost entirely human. Her skin had an unusual opalescent quality, shimmering with subtle colors as she moved, but her form was unmistakably humanoid. Her eyes were the only obvious non-human feature. Vertical pupils set in irises of deep violet. The rumors were true. The royal bloodline was different. Whether through genetic modification or some ancient connection to Earth, the queen appeared more human than alien. The implications were staggering. The queen took her place on the throne. Her movements were graceful, deliberate, every gesture calculated for maximum effect. Once seated, she made a small motion with one hand, and the assembly rose. "Let the tribute ceremony begin," announced an official. One by one, the presenters approached. The throne bowed, presented their items, and retreated. Lily watched carefully, noting that the queen barely acknowledged each gift, merely nodding slightly as items were added to a growing collection. Lily stood perfectly still as the massive doors closed behind the departing nobles and servants. The queen's personal guards remained positioned at the corners of the room, their weapons drawn but not aimed directly at her. Ember perched on her shoulder, his small body tense and ready. The disguise was pointless now, so Lily removed the contacts that had been hiding the luminescent quality of her eyes. "As I do you," the queen said softly. She reached up and removed an elaborate headdress, revealing delicately pointed ears identical to Lily's impossible. Lily whispered, forgetting protocol in her shock. The queen made a gesture, and her guards stepped back, moving to the entrance of the hall, far enough away to give them privacy, but close enough to intervene, if necessary. "My birth name is Maya," the queen said. Her voice had changed, dropping the formal tone she had used during the ceremony. It now carried hints of an accent Lily recognized from her father's speech. A Sylvan accent. How Lily began, unable to form a complete question. "Maya." The queen motioned toward the heart of the forest, which continued to glow, now pulsing gently in response to the presence of 2 Sylvan bloodlines. "You know what this is?" "The heart of the forest," Lily said. Maya nodded. "The genetic repository of our people." She reached out slowly, and this time her fingers made contact with the crystal sphere. As she touched it, the glow intensified, spreading up her arm in delicate patterns that resembled branching vines. "I thought it was lost forever." Lily studied the woman before her, trying to reconcile the fearsome Zoraxian queen with this person who claimed Sylvan heritage. Everything about the Zoraxian Empire, their conquests, their cruelty, their destruction of Earth, seemed incompatible with Sylvan values. How could a Sylvan be their leader? "You lead the empire that destroyed my home," Lily said, anger breaking through her caution. "You oversaw the destruction of Earth, the deaths of billions." Pain flashed across Maya's face. "I was taken from Earth as a child," she said, "raised to be what they needed me to be." She turned away, looking out the enormous windows at the ruined city below. The Zoraxian Empire has existed for thousands of years. I have ruled for less than 50. I did not begin the war with humanity, I inherited it. Ember chirped softly, sensing the complex emotions flowing between the two women. He launched from Lily's shoulder and flew in a small circle around them before landing on a decorative railing nearby. The dragon watched Maya with curious eyes. "You have a drake," Maya said with something like wonder in her voice. "I haven't seen one since I was a child." Lily stayed focused on the larger issues. "How are you, Sylvan?" she asked. The queen of the Zoraxians, Maya, gestured to a small seating area away from the throne. "Follow me, the formal audience is over. We should speak as what we truly are. The last daughters of a dying bloodline." Lily hesitated, but followed, keeping the heart of the forest in her hands, sat across from Maya, noticing for the first time how young the queen appeared, despite reportedly ruling for decades. Sylvans aged slowly, another trait that separated them from humans. "The Zoraxians have been taking Sylvans from Earth for centuries," Maya began. "Our genes contain something they need. Our ability to connect with living systems to accelerate growth and renewal." She looked down at her hands, which still glowed faintly from touching the heart. "Their homeworld is dying, has been dying, for millennia. Their evolution took them down a path that made them powerful, but ultimately unsustainable. They consume more than they can replace." The story began to make a terrible kind of sense to Lily. The Zoraxians' enormous reptilian bodies would require significant resources. Their technological advancement would further strain their planet. If they evolved as predators, as their appearance suggested, they might lack the inherent conservation instincts of the Sylvan people. So they took Sylvans to what fixed their planet. In a way, Maya confirmed, they tried many approaches. First, they attempted to use Sylvans as a labor force to heal their ecosystems. That failed. Our abilities don't work. That way cannot be forced. Then they tried breeding programs, mixing Sylvan and Zoraxian genetics. Lily felt sick at the implications. "That explains why you look so different from the others." Maya nodded. "The royal bloodline contains the highest concentration of Sylvan genes. Each generation is carefully designed to maintain the balance between Sylvan abilities and Zoraxian physical traits." Her face darkened. "They told me I was the last, that they had eliminated all others with our bloodline to ensure my cooperation and prevent any rival claims to leadership. That explains why they hunted us," Lily said, thinking of her father, who had lived in hiding his entire life, of the stories he told of Sylvans retreating deeper into forests and remote areas as human civilization expanded. "We thought we were hiding from humans, but we were really hiding from them." "From both," Maya corrected. "Humans feared what they didn't understand. Those with Sylvan traits were persecuted in human history as well. The Zoraxians were simply more deliberate in their hunt, more systematic." She paused, studying Lily. "Your existence proves they lied to me." "There are others." Lily thought of the scattered colonies, some of which might have survived the Zoraxian advance. "Not many," she admitted. "Most with significant Sylvan blood show physical traits that make them targets. I survived because I was away from the main colony when the attack came. Other mixed bloodlines might pass as human if their Sylvan heritage is diluted enough." Maya leaned forward. "With the heart, we could find them, all of them, even those with just a trace of Sylvan blood. The heart can awaken dormant genes, reveal those who don't even know what they are." This conversation was not going as Lily had expected. She had anticipated being executed or imprisoned at best, certainly not discussing genetic awakening with the Zoraxian queen. Why would you want to find others like us? What would stop the Zoraxians from simply taking them as they took you, because I am not what they think I am? Maya said, her voice dropping. To a whisper, I have played a role for 50 years, appearing to be their perfect hybrid ruler, while secretly working to undermine their most destructive tendencies. The conservation protocols for conquered worlds, the preservation of cultural artifacts, the ban on complete planetary destruction. All my doing, all designed to buy time for what Maya looked at the heart of the forest. For this, the Sylvan prophecy. The lost daughter will return with the heart and the flame. She nodded toward Ember, who was now exploring the chamber, his curiosity getting the better of him. I always thought it was just a story told to comfort Sylvan children, a promise that someday someone would come to save us. She smiled faintly. I didn't expect her to walk directly into my throne room and present herself. Lily struggled to process everything she was hearing. The queen of the Zoraxian Empire, the leader of humanity's greatest enemy, was a kidnapped Sylvan, working against the Empire from within. And now, she believed Lily was part of some ancient prophecy. How do I know this isn't a trick? Lily asked. Some elaborate trap to find any remaining Sylvans and eliminate them? Maya considered this. Then, with deliberate movements, she removed an ornate bracelet from her wrist, revealing a control device embedded in her flesh. This monitors my location, my vital signs, my every word, she explained. It can also deliver enough toxin to kill me instantly if I attempt to flee, or if my handlers decide I have become a liability. She held out her arm toward Lily. See for yourself. Lily reluctantly touched the device. It was real advanced technology, seamlessly integrated with living tissue. This was no prop or costume piece, but a genuine control mechanism. Maya is not free. The queen continued, speaking of herself in the third person. She rules but is also a prisoner. The Empire sees her as a tool, nothing more. They would replace her in an instant if they found a more suitable specimen. She leaned closer to Lily, her voice dropping even further. I have waited my entire life for a chance to fight back. Truly fight back. Not just mitigate damage, but reclaim what was stolen from our people. The sincerity in her voice was difficult to doubt, but Lily remained cautious. What exactly are you proposing? Maya glanced at the guards who remained at their posts, then back to Lily. An alliance, she said simply. You have something I lack. Freedom of movement. I have something you lack, access and authority. Together, with the heart, we could awaken the dormant Sylvan bloodlines throughout the human populations. Not just the obvious ones with physical traits, but the thousands, perhaps millions, with just enough Sylvan genetics to be useful once awakened. An army, hidden in plain sight. And what would this army do? Lily asked. Rise up against the Zoraxians. That would just lead to more death, more destruction. They have overwhelming military superiority. Maya shook her head. No. Not a conventional war. That would be suicide. Sylvans were never warriors. But we are connected to living systems in ways the Zoraxians cannot comprehend. With enough of us working in harmony with the heart, we could essentially reprogram their technology. Lily frowned. What do you mean? The Zoraxians base their advanced technology on biological systems, Maya explained. Their ships, their weapons, even their communication networks all incorporate living components grown rather than built. It's what makes them so powerful, but also so vulnerable to those who can speak to living things as Sylvans can. The plan began to take shape in Lily's mind. If enough people with Sylvan blood worked together, focused through the heart of the forest, they might be able to influence the organic components of Zoraxian technology, essentially turning the Empire's own weapons against it, or at least rendering them useless. It's an elegant solution. The guest quarters assigned to Lily were luxurious beyond anything she had experienced since the fall of Earth. The room was spacious with actual furniture instead of the utilitarian sleeping platforms most humans used now. Soft fabrics covered, the walls muting the harsh metallic elements of Zoraxian architecture. A large window offered a view of the ruined city below, currently bathed in moonlight. Ember explored the space with enthusiasm. The small dragon had been confined too long first, in the scout ship then in the hidden pouch. Now he flew from perch to perch, his scales shifting through colors as his mood changed from curiosity to excitement, and back again. Lily sat on the edge of the bed, the heart of the forest cradled in her hands. She was still trying to process everything that had happened. The Xeraxian queen was Sylvan, a prisoner as much as a ruler. And now Lily was apparently part of an ancient prophecy. The lost daughter returning with the heart and the flame it. Seemed too convenient, too perfect. She had come seeking answers, hoping at best to discover some weakness in the Xeraxian Empire. Instead, she had found a potential ally in the most unexpected place. But could she trust Maya? Could anyone who had lived among the Xeraxians for 50 years truly maintain their Sylvan values? A soft chime announced a visitor. Lily quickly concealed the heart under a pillow and called for Ember, who reluctantly settled on her shoulder. "Enter," she called. The door slid open, revealing a human woman in servant attire. Lily recognized her from earlier, Courtney. Her expression was carefully neutral, but her eyes showed surprise at seeing Lily alive, and apparently unharmed. "I have been instructed to attend to your needs," Courtney said formally, though something in her voice suggested she had many questions. "Thank you," Lily responded, equally formal. She was uncertain how much to reveal. The walls almost certainly had monitoring devices. Courtney moved around the room, arranging items that didn't need arranging, straightening things that were already straight. When she passed close to Lily, she whispered, "You presented an unauthorized gift. How are you still alive?" Lily hesitated but decided some truth was necessary. "The Queen found my gift interesting," she said carefully. Courtney looked skeptical. "Interesting enough to spare your life. Interesting enough to house you in royal guest quarters." She shook her head slightly. "The Queen has never shown such interest in a human before. The Queen is not what she seems," Lily said, choosing her words with extreme care. Courtney froze, her hands hovering over a decorative bowl she had been adjusting. Her eyes darted to the corners of the room where monitoring devices might be hidden. "None of them are what they seem," she replied so softly Lily almost missed it. This conversation was dangerous. Lily knew, but she needed allies. If Maya's plan was to work, they would need humans who could move freely within the Xeraxian system. Courtney had survived as a servant for years. She clearly knew how to navigate the complex politics of the Empire. "Have you served in the royal household long?" Lily asked louder for the benefit of any listening devices. "Since I was a child," Courtney answered, resuming her work. "Several generations of my family have served the Empire." She emphasized the word served in a way that suggested compulsion rather than choice. Lily watched her carefully, looking for any sign that might indicate where her true loyalties lay. "Have you ever been off-world?" she asked casually. Courtney nodded. "I accompanied a previous diplomatic mission to the Centauri colonies." Before she could say more, the door chimed again. Courtney immediately stepped back, adopting a subservient posture. As the door opened, 2 Xeraxian guards entered, followed by an official Lily recognized from the ceremony. "The Queen requests your presence, human," the official announced. His voice held a note of displeasure, suggesting he disapproved of the invitation. Now Lily stood smoothing her clothing. Ember shifted on her shoulder, sensing her tension. "Of course," she said. The official turned and left, expecting Lily to follow. The guards remained flanking the door, making it clear she had no choice. Lily moved toward the exit, pausing briefly beside Courtney. "The heart stays here," she whispered. "Trust no one." Courtney gave no sign she had heard, but as Lily passed, she brushed against her hand, a brief touch that might have been accidental but felt deliberate, a silent acknowledgement. Lily followed the official through the corridors of the flagship. Xeraxians they passed stared at her with obvious curiosity or disdain. Humans kept their eyes averted. Ember remained on her shoulder, a visible symbol of her unusual status. The small dragon drew particular attention from the Xeraxians, many of whom seemed unsettled by his presence. The official led her not to the throne room, but to a smaller chamber that appeared to be a private study. Books and data, tablets lined the walls. Physical books were a rarity in the Empire, a luxury reserved for the highest ranks. The room was warm, much warmer than the rest of the ship, with lighting that seemed designed to mimic natural sunlight. Maya sat at a desk, reviewing something on a holographic display. She wore simpler clothing than during the ceremony, though still clearly royal in design and material. She looked up as Lily entered, dismissing the official with a wave. "Leave us," she commanded the official, bowed but hesitated. "Your Majesty, the security protocols will be observed," Maya cut him off. "Our conversation will be recorded as always." She gestured to a small device on the desk. "Is that not sufficient?" The official bowed again and withdrew, though. His expression suggested he was not entirely satisfied with the arrangement. Once the door closed, Maya pressed a button on the desk. A soft hum filled the room, dampening other sounds. She held a finger to her lips, then pointed to the recording device, which continued to blink its active status. "The noise distortion will not block all monitoring, but it will make precise voice recording difficult." She explained, "Our conversation will be heard, but details may be lost, which gives us some freedom to speak." Lily nodded, understanding the precaution. "How many layers of surveillance do you live with?" she asked. Maya smiled thinly. "More than I can count, and fewer than they think. Some I have identified and work around others. I simply accept as the cost of my position." She gestured to the room around them. "This chamber is one of the few spaces where I have managed to create small blind spots. Not enough for true privacy, but enough for what we need to discuss." Lily sat in the offered chair while Ember flew to a nearby perch, evidently designed for that purpose. Maya had been preparing for this meeting. She studied the Queen, noting details she had missed earlier. The subtle markings around her eyes that might be ritualistic tattoos or might be naturally occurring patterns. The way she moved with deliberate grace, each gesture precise and controlled, years of training. Visible in every motion, I have been carefully reviewing the database. Maya began speaking at normal volume now. "The tour tomorrow will include a visit to the Central Archives. A symbolic gesture to show that human history is being preserved rather than erased." She leaned forward. "The security will be minimal as the area is considered non-vital. You will have approximately 20 minutes to disappear before an alarm is raised." Lily frowned. "But won't you be implicated in my escape?" Maya waved a hand dismissively. "The Queen does not concern herself with the movements of every human, especially one who proved uninteresting after initial curiosity." She smiled thinly. "The record will show that I found your gift ultimately disappointing and lost interest, a common occurrence with my supposedly fickle royal temperament. This felt too easy, too prearranged." "You seem to have considered every detail," Lily observed. "How long have you been planning this?" "Years," Maya admitted. "Not this specific scenario, of course, but an opportunity like it. I have spent decades putting certain pieces in place, preparing for the moment when I might find others of our kind." She looked directly at Lily. "The prophecy speaks of the heart and the flame, but also of the hidden ones, those with sylvan blood who do not know their heritage. They will be key to what comes next. How many of these hidden ones might exist?" Lily asked. Maya turned to the holographic display, manipulating the data with practiced movements. The image shifted, showing a star map with certain systems highlighted, based on genetic surveys conducted during human colonization, perhaps. Thousands with enough sylvan markers to be useful. Most with no visible traits, no pointed ears or luminescent eyes, just certain genetic sequences dormant but present. Thousands. Lily echoed, "That seems impossible." Maya finished, "For her, sylvans were never numerous even before humans forced them into hiding. But your ancestors were careful, deliberate. They interbred with humans, strategically spreading certain genetic traits through bloodlines, a form of preservation, ensuring that even if pure, sylvans were eliminated, the essential genetic material would survive." Lily thought of her father. He had never explained why her mother had been chosen as his partner, only that their union was important somehow, part of a larger plan. Now it began to make sense. The Zeraxians have been conducting genetic screenings for centuries. Maya continued, identifying and eliminating those with obvious sylvan traits, but they missed the hidden ones, those with just enough markers to carry the potential, but not enough to trigger their sensors. She smiled. The same genetic camouflage that protected your people from human persecution protected them from Zoraxian purges. This was beginning to sound less like coincidence and more like an elaborate multi-generational strategy. Lily wondered how much her father had known, how many others had been part of this silent resistance spanning centuries. What exactly will the heart do to these hidden ones, she asked. 6 months passed since Lily escaped Earth with the heart of the forest. 6 months of careful planning, recruitment, and preparation. The sanctuary on Proxima Centauri b was everything Maya had promised, and more, hidden within a massive forest beneath. A permanent aurora, the settlement housed not just hundreds, but nearly 2,000 individuals with varying degrees of Sylvan heritage. The initial meeting had been tense, Lily arriving unannounced in a stolen Zoraxian diplomatic vessel with a dragon on her shoulder and a glowing crystal in her hands. But Ember had sensed no danger, and the heart had reacted strongly to the concentration of Sylvan blood pulsing with energy that could be felt rather than seen. A council of elders led by a woman named Patricia welcomed her. Once they confirmed her identity, Lily learned that the sanctuary had been established decades earlier when the first queen, with Sylvan blood, Maya's predecessor, realized the importance of preserving their genetic heritage. Like Maya, she had worked within the constraints of her position to create this haven, though with less awareness of its true purpose. The community had thrived in isolation, developing their own culture, blending human innovation with Sylvan tradition. Many had visible traits similar to Lily's: pointed ears, luminescent eyes, unusual connections to plant life. Others appeared entirely human, their Sylvan heritage hidden in their genetics. But all felt the call of the heart when Lily first revealed it. Each day more arrived, refugees from distant outposts smuggled in by Maya's network of loyal captains and officials. Some came knowingly seeking sanctuary. Others arrived confused, having been told only that they were being relocated for their safety. All shared the same genetic markers that Maya had identified. All responded to the heart with varying degrees of sensitivity. Patricia explained that they had been waiting. Though they hadn't known exactly what they were waiting for, the elders had maintained traditions and practices passed down through generations, preparing for a time when they would be called upon. Lily, with her strong Sylvan traits, and bonded Drake, represented something many had thought lost forever: a direct connection to their ancestral powers. The heart of the forest became the center of their work. Lily learned to use it not just as a passive tool, but as an amplifier for the abilities all Sylvan descendants shared: to communicate with plant life, to accelerate growth, to sense disturbances in living systems, and most importantly, to connect with others of their kind across vast distances. This last ability proved crucial to their plans. Over months of practice, Lily discovered that the heart could be used to locate others with Sylvan blood, even those who had no knowledge of their heritage. The process was slow, requiring deep meditation and careful focus, but gradually, a network began to form, linking minds across star systems. On this particular day, Lily sat in the central chamber of the sanctuary, a structure built entirely of living trees coaxed to grow in specific patterns to form walls and ceilings. The heart floated before her, suspended in a field of energy created by the combined focus of 20 elders positioned in a circle around her. Ember, now grown to the size of a large dog, rested at her feet. His scales shimmered between deep red and bright gold as he dreamed. Lily reached out through the heart, feeling the connections that stretched across space. Like tendrils of light, they connected her to others with Sylvan blood. Some bonds were strong, glowing brightly in her mind's eye. Others were faint, barely perceptible, suggesting distant relations or heavily diluted bloodlines. But all were part of the network, all could be called upon when the time came. A soft tone interrupted her meditation. Lily opened her eyes, the connections fading but not disappearing entirely. She had learned to maintain a peripheral awareness of the network even when attending to other matters. Patricia stood in the doorway. She looked troubled. Lily noticed immediately. The older woman rarely showed concern, having lived through the fall of Earth and decades of hiding. "It's time," Patricia said. "Simply, they have arrived." Lily nodded. She had been expecting this. The Zoraxian Empire conducted inspections of all outlying facilities on a regular schedule. The sanctuary was officially listed as a genetic research station studying plant adaptations for potential terraforming use, a cover story that had protected them for years. But this inspection was different. Maya had warned them through their secure communication channel. The inspectors this time included specialists from the Central Authority, individuals specifically tasked with identifying Sylvan genetic markers. The Empire had grown suspicious of certain patterns, unusual communications, interference with their biological systems. They were hunting now, with greater purpose and focus, the Ma'an. Heart dimmed as the elders broke their concentration one by one. Lily stood stretching, muscles stiff from hours of meditation. Ember woke instantly, alert to her shift in mood. The dragon had continued to grow and mature over the months. His intelligence now matched that of the most advanced companion animals, his bond with Lily strengthening with each passing day. "How many ships?" Patricia asked as they walked together toward the observation platform. "3 confirmed by our sensors," Lily replied. 2 standard inspection vessels and 1 larger command carrier. They know something is here, though. They may not know exactly what. Patricia nodded, her expression grim. "Can we hide?" "Not from their advanced scanners," Lily said. "And even if we could, the heart is too active now, too powerful. Its energy signature would be detectable to their instruments." She touched the older woman's arm. "It was always going to come to this. We knew we couldn't hide forever." The observation platform offered a view of the entire settlement and the forest beyond. From this height, the pattern became visible. Living quarters, research facilities, communal spaces, all arranged in a specific design that from above resembled a massive tree. Its branches stretching across the valley formed pathways between buildings, its roots connecting to water sources and energy collection points. The design wasn't just aesthetic. It was functional, channeling the natural energy of the planet in ways that amplified Sylvan abilities. In the distance, 3 ships descended through the atmosphere. Their Zoraxian design, unmistakable, angular, and predatory. Against the backdrop of the forest, they looked alien, intrusive, a reminder of the conflict that had shaped all their lives. "Everyone is in position?" Patricia asked. Lily nodded. "The network is strong, the strongest it's ever been. Over 2,000 here in the sanctuary, another 5,000 scattered across 7 systems, all connected, all ready. The heart has been preparing them, awakening dormant abilities, teaching them to use what they never knew they possessed." She smiled despite the gravity of the situation. Not just humans with Sylvan blood either, as if summoned by her words, shapes appeared in the sky. Dragons of various sizes, from small companions like Ember had once been to massive creatures the size of small ships. The dragons had been hidden for centuries, retreating to remote areas of planets as human expansion threatened their habitats. Now they returned, drawn by the same call that had strengthened the Sylvan network. The connection between Sylvans and dragons was ancient, deeper than mere companionship. They were partners in the truest sense, each enhancing the others. Natural abilities. The largest dragon, a creature with scales that shifted between deep blue and silver, landed on the platform beside them. Its wingspan cast shadows across the entire structure. Lily approached, without fear, placing her hand on its massive snout. The dragon rumbled a greeting, recognizing her through the network. "Is Maya ready?" Lily asked, not speaking aloud but communicating through their connection. The dragon blinked slowly in affirmative response. Like the Sylvans, the dragons could communicate across vast distances, their minds linked. Through means that defied conventional understanding, Maya remained on Earth, playing her role as queen, but connected to their plan through this network, awaiting the signal to act. Lily turned to Patricia. "The Zoraxians believe they are here for a routine inspection. They expect to find a small research team studying plant genetics. What they will actually find," she smiled, "is the beginning of a revolution." The ships landed in the designated area, a clearing just outside the main settlement. Ramps extended and Zoraxian officials disembarked. Their scaled bodies gleamed in the planet's reddish sunlight, weapons prominently displayed. A show of force meant to intimidate. Lily, Patricia, and a small delegation moved to meet them, walking calmly along, pathways formed by living plants that seemed to shift subtly as they passed, making way, clearing obstacles. The heart remained in the central chamber guarded by elders, but Lily carried a small fragment, a splinter that maintained her connection. To the main network, the lead Zeraxian stepped forward. A commander based on his elaborate armor and insignia, his eyes narrowed as he took in the delegation, particularly Lily with her obvious Sylvan traits and Ember at her side. This facility is now under Imperial inspection, he announced, his voice harsh and commanding. All research data, personnel records, and genetic samples are to be surrendered immediately. His gaze fixed on Lily. Who are you? Your presence here is not in our records. Lily smiled. Calmly, I am exactly where I am supposed to be, she said. And so are you. The commander frowned, reaching for his weapon, but froze as a strange sensation washed over him. His scales began to shimmer, not with their natural iridescence, but with a greenish light that spread from his extremities toward his core.